Hello, all, and welcome to podcast number 3 for Inside the Box with Adam Bach. I am Adam Bach, as always. Just going to keep it kind of brief today. I'm a little tired. Have had my coffee, though, so that helped. I'm going to keep it a little brief because today and next week will be, they'll go together. I'm doing my top 50 characters list, movie characters list, and so this week is 50 to 26, and the next week will be 25 to 1. So with that being said, I will go a little bit quicker. I realize that if I want to keep attention spans going, close to an hour on a YouTube video might not necessarily get me the views, or I guess the listeners, I should say. So then, just briefly, I will go and tell you the sponsor of today's podcast is water, and man, that's some high-quality H2O. All right, and now let's get into this so that we don't take too long. All right, so with that being said, number 50 on my top 50 characters list is Rusty Ryan, which is Brad Pitt from the Ocean's trilogy. Although most of the characters from the franchise are good, you have Clooney and Matt Damon and Don Cheadle and many others. I feel that Rusty's character, Brad Pitt's character Rusty, is the most consistent of all the characters throughout all the movies. He has a definite don't care attitude, and I love the fact that he's always eating something. I don't know why. It's just a cool trait for a character. Number 49, we have Dr. Malcolm Crowe, which is Bruce Willis from The Sixth Sense. This is a much more relaxed role for Bruce. I feel like quite often he's playing a cop, or he's playing a role similar to a cop, where he's more agitated, more intense, and in this he's a child psychologist, so he's much more soft-spoken and chooses his words carefully and all of that. I feel like most people have seen this movie, so of course it features a twist ending, but I'm still not going to say it, because knowing my luck, I'll get that one person that listens to this that hasn't seen it, and they'll flip out. So it's a good movie, good twist, and Bruce Willis is very good in it. Number 48, I have Blade, which is Wesley Snipes from the Blade trilogy. Half human and half vampire, Blade makes a living hunting and killing the creatures that killed his mother while he was in her womb, which is how he became half vampire. Wesley Snipes he kicks ass in this role. He didn't have to audition. He's one of 2 actors that have played or are going to be playing Marvel characters that didn't have to audition for the role. The other being Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. A lot of people forget about Blade. Some of those early superhero movies kind of get forgotten with the success of Marvel's cinematic universe. But Blade actually is... It might not be the first Marvel movie that was made. No, it's not. There's others, but it was the first one that was really good, at least in my opinion. So Blade, Wesley Snipes, he's back now. He's back acting, so maybe we'll see a Blade appearance in one of the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I doubt it, but that would be really cool. Number 47, I have Marge Gunderson, which is Frances McDermott from Fargo. Extremely persistent and extremely pregnant. She's the Fargo chief of police. who starts investigating a triple homicide, which leads her on a chain of events that is wild. And if you read the blog that goes along with this, I describe it that it leads to one of the most intense scenes ever, dealing with a wood chipper. And then that does get me to one brief point quickly to interrupt my list. I am going to be putting the podcast into the blog post, hopefully from now on, starting this week. So I have the blog finished, and I'm recording, and then once I get everything transferred in, I'll put a link to this inside the blog and then post them at the same time. And that being said, let's move on. At number 46, I have Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, which is Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy. I absolutely love Chris Pratt. I just finished Parks and Rec series finale this week. I liked it a lot. And I love Andy Dwyer. Or Burt Macklin or Johnny Karate, whatever you want to call him. He's awesome. Peter Quill is a great character for him. And I do notice a few moments in Guardians where he does kind of almost have that Burt Macklin swagger. And I hate using that word, but he's got it in certain parts in this movie. Specifically, I think the end. And then Pratt's opening to the movie, in my opinion, is an instant classic. And it's seemingly almost a cross between Indiana Jones and Flashdance. It's just a fantastic moment to watch. So. And then with number 45, I have Peter Venkman, which is Bill Murray from Ghostbusters. To quote him, "We came, we saw, and we kicked ass." And I just read that quote totally wrong. It's "we kicked its ass." See, that's what happens when you record these and you're not totally awake. Bill Murray doesn't get much better than this, and that's really about all I can say on it. He's a scientist. He goes out of his way to flirt with almost any woman he sees. Obviously, once he meets Sigourney Weaver, that's pretty much the focus for him in the movie. But before that, he's kind of all over the place. But it's a great role, and doesn't get much better than that for Bill. Number 44, I have Alice from the Resident Evil franchise, played by Mia Jovovich, if I said that correctly. She just flat out is one of the most badass females in cinema. Not very many movie adaptations of video games are worth a damn, essentially. But most of the movies from this franchise not only hold up, but they also have rewatch value. And I think part of that is because they did create the character of Alice specifically for the movies. She's definitely not in any of the early games. I don't play the franchise that much, the games, so I don't know if they introduced her at any point later on. What is cool is they do start adding characters from the game, or from the games to the movies, starting with the second one, when they bring Jill Valentine in. So that's a very cool thing. It's zombies, so anyone who doesn't like zombie movies should not watch these. And I just think it's a fun series to revisit, and especially around Halloween. Number 43, I have Elijah Price, which is Samuel L. Jackson from Unbreakable. Armed with only bones as fragile as glass, Sam Jackson delivers a mysterious and spooky performance in Unbreakable opposite Bruce Willis, who, of course, is, as the title says, unbreakable. I honestly think this is one of the most underrated movies out there, and Sam's performance is a huge part in that. He is scary good, and pretty much any time you get Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson in the same movie, it's going to be good. Die Hard with a Vengeance is another example. This is another Shyamalan movie, so of course there's a twist. I definitely won't say this one because I feel like this movie didn't hit the rounds that The Sixth Sense did. But I think this one might be stronger than The Sixth Sense. Number 42, I have Loki, which is Tom Hiddleston from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has appeared in Thor, Thor the Dark World, Avengers. I think that it. He might have popped up at the end, one of the end sequences and one of the other ones, but I'm pretty sure it's just those three. So far, he's just flat out the best villain in any of them. And he's just super interesting. Like anytime, like in Thor: The Dark World, when he's in Asgardian prison for a whole half of the movie, it's just really good. He really makes you feel what he's feeling, even though he tries to mask it. And then just the fact that he is extremely charming. Tom Hiddleston in the role, like he's charming as hell. He really makes you like, man, this guy is evil, but he's awesome because he's so charming. With number 41, I have Tom Stall, which is Viggo Mortensen from A History of Violence. This is another movie that I feel hasn't gotten the attention it deserves. Viggo leads a cast that also features Ed Harris, William Hurt, and Maria Bello. William Hurt did actually get a supporting actor nomination. It was quite a few years back. I want to say this movie came out in the early 2000s. It's based off of a graphic novel of the same name. Tom Stall runs a diner in small-town Indiana. When he becomes a local hero by saving diner staff and patrons from two criminals, shady men claiming to be from his past come to pay him a visit. Really good movie. Extremely bloody movie when you get into a certain point. Well, not extremely bloody. There's just some pretty substantial execution style deaths. It's really good though. It's a great movie, and Viggo Mortensen. This is Viggo after Lord of the Rings, and he's very good. Number 40, I have Randall Graves, which is Jeff Anderson from Clerks 1 and 2, and he does have a small appearance as Randall in Jay and Silent Bob, and I'm pretty sure that's it. I guess I could have done the safe thing and referred to it as like the Kevin Smith cinematic universe, but I'm pretty sure the main two are Clerks 1 and 2. To quote Randall, "This job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers." Every single person who's ever worked a job, I feel like, at some point has thought that quote. In the first one, he works at the video store next to the Quick Stop. Maybe the worst employee ever, but he's just a guy who you want to be friends with. He's got no filter, but he is a great friend. He has moments where he just has these speeches that are really good. In my opinion, he's the most enjoyable character in the Clerks movies, but I would say he is followed closely behind by Jay and Silent Bob. Those two are out of this world. Number 39, I have John Keating, Robin Williams from Dead Poets Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Robin Williams has had a cornucopia of great performances, but my personal favorite is his role as English teacher John Keating. It's a very good movie. It does have sad moments, but it's amazing to see the way the character inspires his students. Number 38, I have Russell Hammond, which is Billy Crudup from Almost Famous. I am a golden god. That is a quote from Russell when he's standing on a roof while tripping on acid. He also goes on to say, I'm on drugs. Great. This is a movie that I didn't see until probably about a year and a half ago. And the first time I watched it, I was like, this is a good movie, but I'm not sure on it. It's a lot to deal with, and I've seen it 2 more times since then, and it just keeps growing on me. If you're a fan of music, you're going to love this movie. Russell is the face and lead guitar player for the mid-level rock band Stillwater. And Billy Crudup just makes you want to be a fucking rock star with his performance. I mean, the movie is so cool. You go with the band on tour. You're following another character who's a journalist, but he's still he doesn't tell them how old he is. He's actually like 15. And he doesn't even tell Rolling Stone magazine that he's that old, but they want him to write a piece on the band. And it's just him going on tour with the band and all this crazy stuff happening, and it's a great movie. I've been told in the past I'm not the best at describing movies, which is probably true. But with that being said, Billy Crudup just dominates in this role. Number 37, I have Marv, which is Mickey Rourke from the Sin City franchise, since there are 2 films now. This is the role that Mickey Rourke was born to play. If you've ever looked at one of the Sin City graphic novels and you see the character of Marv in the book, you're like, oh my gosh, it looks like Mickey Rourke. It was the perfect casting choice. And he's playing a man that likes his vengeance served bloody and a nice leather coat. Number 36, I have Agent Smith, which is Hugo Weaving from the Matrix trilogy. Hugo Weaving exudes awesomeness. He's played a ton of cool characters in cinema, and even voiced at least one. He was the voice of Megatron in the Transformers. Agent Smith is probably, well, according to my list, he's not his coolest character, but he is one of the coolest. The thing with this trilogy, as most people know, is it just got worse and worse the more movies that came out. But it really doesn't take away from the fact that the first film was groundbreaking. And then Agent Smith just plays a great villain for this. If you haven't seen The Matrix, you definitely need to watch it. Great, but Hugo Weaving's, in my opinion, steals the show. I know it's like Keanu Reeves' best movie ever, but Hugo Weaving definitely steals the show. Number 35, I have Indiana Jones, which is Harrison Ford from the Indiana Jones, it's hard to say franchise, because number 4 was so bad, so I'm just going to say the Indiana Jones trilogy. One of the greatest adventurers in cinema, and he was named after the frickin' dog. Like I said, ignore the 4th film. Harrison Ford excels in the role and makes a whip and a satchel look awesome. And that's really, I mean, obviously there's the iconic running away from the boulder, but I can't really mention anything else. I mean, just anything else would just be saying how cool the character is. And I'm only on 35, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. Number 34, I have Daniel Plainview. It's Daniel Day-Lewis from There Will Be Blood. At this point, it's pretty safe to say that if Daniel Day-Lewis is in it, it's going to be a solid performance. Although this is... I haven't seen a ton of his movies. I've seen this, and I've seen Lincoln, and that honestly might be it. And I've seen Gangs of New York. All great performances, but this is the only one that features death by bowling pin, and in my mind, that gives the movie a few more pluses. Number 33, I have Calvin Candy, which is Leonardo DiCaprio from Django Unchained. This is the only time I can think... the only time that I can truly think of that Leo is playing the villain. He's undercover in The Departed, so he's technically not the villain, even though he does villain-type acts. Leo is extremely intense in this role. He plays a plantation owner, and there's one scene, and I'm sure by now, because there was a huge deal about it. There's one scene where he slams his hand down on a table and hits a cup, like some type of glass cup, and it just shatters. And he really does cut the shit out of his hand. He cuts it bad, and he just kept going. Like, he just casually wraps something around his hand in the scene and keeps going. Like, it's just awesome. Like, you watch the scene and you're like, holy shit, he really did do that. And my favorite scene in the movie with him is when he and Dr. King Schultz are talking about the Three Musketeers, and Dr. King Schultz reveals to Calvin that Alexander Dumas was a black man, and there's just this moment of just kind of that silent moment where like everyone stops talking, and it's like that moment right before the shit hits the fan. And it's just a great moment. If you haven't seen the movie, it is extremely over the top. It is a Tarantino movie, but it is very good. Number 32, I have V, which is, once again, Hugo Weaving from the movie V for Vendetta. Remember the 5th of November. Remember just a couple moments ago when I told you Hugo Weaving was awesome? This is another one of those many good characters by Hugo Weaving. Based on a graphic novel of the same name, V for Vendetta is a great comic book movie and also features great performances from Natalie Portman and John Hurt. Number 31, I have Gandalf, Ian McKellen from what I am now calling the Tolkien franchise, because he does both Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Nothing happens without Gandalf in these movies. Gandalf spearheads the events of both trilogies, and honestly, no one believes in hobbits more than Gandalf. I think he believes in hobbits more than actual hobbits. It's just a great character. Can't say much more about it. He makes some awesome fireworks as well at the beginning of Lord of the Rings in Fellowship. He's a GD wizard. You know, he's awesome. And so moving on. At number 30, I have Jason Bourne, which is Matt Damon from the Bourne trilogy. This is the movie that proved to everyone that Matt Damon is a badass. And not very often in cinema do you get two more movies that are just as good, if not better. Doesn't happen very often. Like I just talked about it with The Matrix. They came out with 2 more and they were awful. But the Bourne trilogy is really good. Bourne is so cool. He can look at a frickin' map and instantly know the best way to outrun the police, or exactly where they need to go. I would love to be able to do that. It would completely defeat the purpose of a GPS. I could just look at the map and be like, oh, I need to go to wherever I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And open up the map and look at between Indiana and Cleveland, Ohio, and be like, oh, I need to take all these roads and I'll get there the fastest of any. And then I would never have to look at the map again. I would just remember it. That would be the most helpful thing. I would almost call that a superpower, because that's frickin' amazing. And Jason Bourne is just, he forever will be one of the coolest secret agents of all time. I mean, he's right up there with James Bond. I mean, he's awesome. Number 29, I have Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man's 1 through 3, the Avengers, and I think he does pop up. He pops up in the end scene of The Incredible Hulk, and I think there's one other end scene that he pops up in, but I can't remember off the top of my head. When one of the moments in the Avengers, Steve Rogers asks him, when you take away the suit, what are you? And he says, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. That pretty much just sums it up. RDJ was born to play the role. Perfect casting choice. Number 28, I have Billy, which is Sam Rockwell from the movie 7 Psychopaths. You didn't bring a gun to the final shootout? Sam Rockwell excels in this movie. If he isn't kidnapping dogs, he is doing something even more psychotic, and you just have to keep your ears open when he's on the screen. He specifically, but also Christopher Walken, the two of them are dynamite in this movie. Colin Farrell is very good too, but it's really Sam Rockwell and then Christopher Walken are what this movie is all about. Number 27, I have Hans Gruber, which is Alan Rickman from Die Hard. Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy? Before Alan Rickman became known as the evil Severus Snape, he was known as Hans Gruber, the terrorist mastermind who was foiled by a totally unprepared John McClane. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. Now, Die Hard is my favorite movie. I don't think I've mentioned it on in the blogs, but since I did an entire blog post on Bruce Willis, I'm sure it was safe to assume that Die Hard is my favorite movie of all time. And it's not just because of Bruce's performance, it is also because of Alan Rickman's performance as Hans Gruber. He is absolutely awesome. He's so calm and collective. Even when he gets angry in like 2 seconds, he's back to just okay. Like, he's just, it's intense. The only thing is when he transitions into his American accent later on in the movie, I die every time I see that. It's so funny. It is like the worst American accent ever. Like, the way when he first gets seen by Bruce Willis, and then he has that moment in his head of like, oh crap, what do I do? And then he decides to do the most awkward, like, whiny yell in like an American accent. I laugh every time. But yeah, Alan Rickman, Hans Gruber, awesome, menacing, and ruthless, apparently. And at number 26, to finish off the first half of the list, I have Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Whether you are talking about the Ranger or the King, Aragorn is someone you want on your side. Viggo does a great job in the role, and you can really feel his hesitance and inner struggle throughout the series when he, especially in Return of the King, when he starts having that inner struggle of he needs to step up and claim what is his, which is he's the rightful king. Other than Samwise, and maybe even more than Samwise, because Samwise does go off with Frodo with those two on their own, but that's because Gandalf asked him to protect Frodo. Aragorn is really the only other character that really tries to keep everyone together. I mean, he leads poor Gimli, who's got the shortest legs other than the hobbits, on a cross-country chase to find the two unimportant hobbits. So he really is, he's the leader. He's trying to keep everyone together. And Viggo just does a great job in the role. It's an awesome character to watch. Definitely has always been one of my favorite points in the Lord of the Rings trilogy is watching Aragorn. All right, and well, 25 through 1 will be continued next week. But when I was making my top 50 list, I did come up with a few more. I probably eventually will go up to top 100, but I won't bore everyone with doing a part 3 and 4. So I'm just going to throw on a few more really enjoyable characters that I like. The T-1000, Robert Patrick from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Super intense. Think he's better than Arnold, easily. David Dunn, which is Bruce Willis from Unbreakable. I talked about Samuel L. Jackson's character from the movie near the beginning of that top 50 list. And Bruce Willis is also a very good character in that movie. Severus Snape, Alan Rickman, Harry Potter franchise. He's a good bad guy. And he does, you do find out he does care. Sort of doesn't make up for all the shit he did, but he does care. I have Ignacio Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Mandy Patinkin from The Princess Bride. He's great. I like him more than Cary Elwes. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. Let's see. William Thatcher, or Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein. Heath Ledger from A Knight's Tale. I probably like that movie more than most people. It's just it's out there, and I like the classic rock music in the medieval setting. Thorin Oakenshield, Richmond Armitage from the Hobbit trilogy. He's kind of like the dwarf version of Aragorn. He's very cool. I like the progression of the character throughout the movies. I hadn't read the book when I saw him, so when I watched the third movie, I was very surprised by his transformation. But then he came through and retransformed for the best. Slevin Kalevra, which is Josh Hartnett from Lucky Number Slevin. In one of the earlier blog posts, I actually did a review on that movie, so I won't really go into depth with that. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, Star Wars original trilogy. Just really good character. And then my last honorable mention for this blog. There will be more honorable mentions next week as well. I have Penny Lane, which is Kate Hudson from Almost Famous. She's really good. She plays the role perfectly. She's not a groupie, she's a Band-Aid. Let's get that straight. And I mean, she's like I said, great in the role. And then lastly, before I end this one, I do just want to say a thanks to my good friend James Roush, who actually contributed to the guest box for this week on the blog. It's something that I've been trying to get up and going since I started it, and no one writes in. So he finally wrote in. All my thought, like what he wrote and my thoughts on what he wrote are part of the blog. So you'll get to see those. And like I said, you can reach me on Twitter at acbach, BACH 27. You can also email me at acbach27@gmail.com. And other than that, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for listening, and thanks for stopping by Inside the Box.